Hi, everyone. We are live. Hello. Hello, everyone. We are live. If you are here, just drop a note in comments and let me know who you are and where you're from so I know you're here. Hi, Ila. Hello. Today, we're going to talk about the self-care of wealth building. Hi, John. Hello. Hi, Renee. Hello. Hello, Aman. Hi, everyone. If you're here, tell me who you are and where you're from. Welcome, everyone. If you're here live, tell me who you are and where you're from. We are joining over on Instagram and on Facebook here. Hi, Jean. Hello. So if you're here watching me live, let me know who you are and where you're from. If you're watching a replay, just drop in comments and say #replay so I know you were here. Today, we're gonna talk about the self-care of wealth building. We're gonna talk about wealth building and we're gonna talk about self-care. And hello, Richard. 7 Doors, Jean Francis. Hello. I hope I'm saying your name right. Jules, hello. Shiv, hello. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. Today, we're going to talk about the self-care of wealth building. We're going to talk about all of the things that we hear on social media about self-care and how that impacts us. And we're going to have a candid conversation about what it really means to build wealth and to care for yourself. Hi, Chance. Hello. Let me know who you are and where you're from. All right, so let's get started. Sangvi, hello. Welcome, everyone. So let's get started. What I want to talk about today is the idea of self-care, and I want to talk about wealth building as it relates to self-care. Oh, hi, Nikita. Somebody who's here online right now has been my friend for over 2 decades. Actually, sorry, over 3 decades. I'm showing my age. Hi, Christian from Central Florida. Welcome. Hello, hello. So what I want to talk about today is self-care and all of the things we hear about self-care and how they're so misleading and how you want to really refocus your attention to what really matters. It seems like every day there is an influencer or an ad showing us exactly how beautiful self-care needs to look. And this is something that makes me angry. It really makes me angry because as a society, with the growth of social media, we're already constantly feeling like we're not enough. And now the sacred space of self-care is also invaded by all these ideas of what it needs to look like. And it really makes me angry because it's misleading us into thinking that something that needs to look beautiful and to look a certain way means self-care. And so that's what I want to talk about today. No matter what race, gender, orientation, no matter what your background is, there are daily stresses in our lives. There are a lot of pressures. There are a lot of expectations from us, and it's all relentless, right? This is all relentless. Can you relate to this? Can you Can you just drop a yes in comments if it makes sense? Hi, Felipe is here. Hello. Yeah, just say yes in comments if this makes sense, that the daily stresses and the expectations from our lives, no matter what our background is, they're absolutely relentless, right? And so yes, exactly. Thank you. So what happens is, on top of that, now we also have to do self-care in a way that's expected out of us. And that's what makes me so mad, that we have these extra expectations piled up upon us. And as a woman, I can tell you that society has pushed women to strive to become these push-up bra wearing superheroes, where we're not only supposed to look pretty, but we're also supposed to be these powerhouses when it comes to our careers, and we're supposed to be funny and easygoing and nurturing and all of these things all at the same time. And I mean, in order to battle this relentless stress now and all these expectations, now we're also supposed to think of ourselves, and we're also supposed to think of ourselves and do things in a way that are pretty. And the whole concept of the infamous me time, whenever I hear about that, I just roll my eyes, because the only images that are bombarded to us are things like expensive spa appointments and luxurious chocolates and expensive bath products and these fancy restaurant dinners and bars and all of that. And I mean, that is an indulgence. These are, and nothing wrong with that, right? That there's nothing wrong in doing things that give us pleasure, but they're an indulgence. That is not self-care. And that's what's so misleading. It's actually backwards, because now we're trying to do self-care in a way that has to look a specific way. And now we're taking pictures of these things and posting them on social media for the dopamine hits of likes and comments and all of that. And so it's completely backwards, because we're doing self-care in a way that actually pleases other people. Does that make sense? Just let me know in comments if that makes sense. Yes, exactly. Yes. So that is what makes it so backwards. And there is just as much pressure on men. It's all about being masculine in a certain way, but then you're supposed to be nurturing in this other way. And it's all about combining all these pressures and then doing self-care on top of that. Yeah, let me know in comments if you can relate to this, if this makes sense. Now, so with this premise, how do we know what self-care is truly about then? What is self-care then? If it's not all of these things, what is it? So number one, if you are doing something for yourself and doing it in a way that needs to be on social media, if you feel the need to post a picture and get that dopamine hit, that's not self-care. If it's fleeting, meaning that you get some joy out of it, of an indulgence, but there is no lasting impact for you, that is not self-care. True self-care is rooted in discipline. It is not rooted in indulgence. True self-care is about being tough-minded, about having this deep and personal understanding of your priorities and respecting yourself and your loved ones and doing things that matter and that fulfill you. And what I want to do is I want to go over the system that I use for self-care for myself. And I want to go over that system with you today. And as I'm going through it, if there is a takeaway, please drop it in comments. If you're watching a replay, drop hashtag replay in comments so I know you were here. But what we do is we always ask you to drop takeaway in comments. So what that does, even in our program, as we are teaching, we always say, anytime you have a takeaway, drop it in comments. And it does two things. The first thing is, we're here today together right now. As soon as this is over, we're all going to go off on through to our usual lives. And when we do that, all of our obligations are going to creep up, right? So as soon as you leave here, maybe your kid is going to need you. You're going to find an email from your boss. Maybe your spouse is going to want something from you. All of our obligations are going to creep up. And if you have a breakthrough or an epiphany, or if you realize something, that gets lost. And it's so easy to forget these things that are good for our personal growth. So what we always ask is, anytime you have a takeaway, type it in the chat. And then it registers. It's a way to have it register and to remember. And the second thing it does is it helps someone else. So if you have a takeaway and they are mindlessly doing something while we're playing in the background, if they read your comment, it's going to help them realize something that, I didn't think about that. So you're not only doing something for yourself when you write takeaways in the chat, you're also helping somebody else who may not have realized what you realized. So anytime you have a takeaway, drop it in the chat. So my approach to self-care is three-pronged. And it's probably the most controversial, different way of looking at caring for yourself than what you may have heard before. Number one is, for me, self-care. Number one is financial freedom. And that was the first thing I started working on as soon as I realized this. It was about 4 years ago. Since then, both my husband and I are financially free. We both have quit our jobs. We work on a real estate portfolio. We have, in fact, helped hundreds of real estate investors start their journey to financial freedom. A lot of our graduates actually have quit their jobs and they are financially free, which is so amazing to us. It's a labor of love, and we love that we've been able to help people do that. So if you're not already, start working towards financial freedom. The two biggest stresses in everyone's lives are, number one, money. That's probably the biggest stressor for everyone. And the second one is time. And having control of your own time is the biggest gift you can give yourself. And so if you're not already working towards financial freedom, put that on top of your self-care list. Self-care is not going to an expensive spa appointment and expensive dinners, and that's all great, but that's an indulgence. Self-care is working towards your long-term financial freedom. And working towards financial freedom, this is not going to look like an indulgence. When you're late at night, instead of watching Netflix, you're in your pajamas, you're going to start learning about wealth building, and you're going to start watching videos or joining a program or reading books on it. That is not going to look beautiful in a way that you can post a picture on social media. It's going to be for you. It's going to be for your future. And that's what self-care looks like. Working towards building financial stability for yourself, for your family. Does that make sense? Let me know in comments if that makes sense. Yeah, thank you. Good. So how do we work towards financial freedom, right? Number one, investing instead of saving. Focus on investing your money instead of saving your money. Think about the return on investment. So we are all so trained to think about money in terms of a consumer. We can only think about saving and spending. Those are the only two things we can think about, right? There is a third category that I would like you to put when it comes to money. It's one is spending, one is saving, and then there is investing money in terms of return on investment. So think about, what can this money do for my personal growth? What is the return on investment for my personal growth of this money? What can this money do for my family's financial future? What is the return on investment, financial return on investment on this money? So instead of saving or spending, start thinking about investing. And the best way to reach financial freedom is by investing, and investing in real estate. Um, when you're investing money, now think about it from the self-care, Pinterest-worthy picture posting, dopamine hit perspective, right? You're not going to be able to post a picture of the money in your bank account. That is not something that's going to give you a dopamine hit. That is self-care. Does that make sense? Are you guys with me? Let me know yes if you're with me. Spend the time that it takes to build wealth. And this is one of my biggest rants, so you might hear me say this again and again, is I see everyone, but I'm a woman, so I can only talk about it from a woman's perspective, right? I see women spend time throwing these Pinterest-worthy, beautiful parties for their dog's birthday, and I love dogs, nothing wrong with that, or for their kid's birthday. And then when it comes to learning about wealth building and spending the time that it takes to learn about wealth building, I hear them say, I don't have time, I'm too busy. I hear people say, instead of investing in a rental property, or instead of investing in my own personal growth by getting the coaching that I need, I'm going to instead spend money on putting a pool in my backyard. Because learning about wealth building, reaching financial freedom, putting the work that it takes to get there is inconvenient. So I talk about this inconvenience factor all the time. So you may hear me talk about it again, is that, people really don't think about the fact that building wealth and working towards financial freedom is going to be inconvenient, because you're working towards caring for your long-term growth, your long-term wealth building. And so go into it knowing that wealth building is going to be inconvenient. It's not going to just happen, not going to just fall into place in your life where all the stars are going to be aligned and suddenly you're building wealth. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to be inconvenient. You're going to have to spend the money to buy a property that you would have put a pool in your backyard with. This is actually real. Someone once told me that I would have bought a rental property, but I wanted to spend that money to put the pool in my backyard instead. So if you invest that money, you could get to a point where you don't have to think about money when it comes to putting a pool in your backyard, right? But these are all long-term objectives. And what we do is, trying to not inconvenience ourselves in the short term, we keep going through life exactly as it is now, and then never get to a point where we are financially free. You guys with me? Just say yes, thumbs up if you're with me, so I know. Thank you. The second piece of the approach, so first one, financial freedom. Second piece of the approach is focusing on growth instead of productivity. So one of the things that, again, this is something that women love to work on, is productivity. I hear a lot of people give advice on how to be more productive, how to get more done in a day. No, you don't need to work on your productivity. You need to work on your growth. And I am 100% guilty of really focusing on how much I can get done as opposed to how can I grow, right? And so if you're someone who is very, very focused on productivity, yes, Renee says, love that, growth more than productivity. Yes. So if you're someone who is super focused on productivity, how much can I get done? What can I check off my to do list? Refocus your attention on your own growth. And you have the permission, if you're looking for permission from someone, don't worry about that to do list. Focus more on your growth. If you grow to a point where you will have the mental clarity to figure out that most of the things on your to-do list are actually not things that need to get done. Sorry, but it's the truth. So number one, under the umbrella of focusing on growth versus productivity, is make a not to do list. And I learned this from Julia Pimsleur. So if you don't follow her, she's amazing. Julia Pimsleur. I sit on the board of the $1 Million Women community. They do a lot for underprivileged women. There's a $1 Million Women Fund, and I'm grateful to be a part of that organization. And one of the things that Julia Pimsleur talks about is making a not to do list. And how do you do this, right? So go through your days just as you are usually doing, and start making a list of all of the things that you're doing. And this is very time consuming. So take your time, maybe take about 2 weeks where every day you're making a list of things that you're doing. And then you will be able to find things that you can, 3 options for things that you're doing. You can either automate them, and I'm an engineer, so automating can really come very naturally to me. I love automating things. Delegate to somebody else. One of the things that we teach in our boardroom program, which is the next level up from the portfolio program, is how to hire a VA, how to train them, how to 2x yourself, clone yourself for personal and business needs using a virtual assistant. So find a way to delegate things. And the third one is eliminate things. And I will tell you that this was the hardest for me to eliminate things, but it is so important. So if you ask a professional organizer, right? If you ask a professional organizer, what is the easiest way to organize things? They're going to tell you that throw away most of your stuff, and then you're not going to need a professional organizer even. That is the easiest way to organize things. So if you're thinking about, how do I focus on growth versus productivity, and I have all of these things to do, you don't have to do those things. So the third one, which is it was the toughest for me, was focus on eliminating things. There are not a lot of things that we actually need to do from that to-do list, and we think we need to do them. I'll give you an example. So for the longest time, every single day I would be at the job site. I would take my kids with me, and if you know me, if you know my background, I quit my job as a mechanical engineer, and I had 2 little kids. I had a toddler and a newborn, and I was completely sure I was going to build this real estate portfolio with 2 kids with me 100% of the time, and had to hire mother's helper because that is just the superhero ability that I don't think anybody has, to be able to do everything. But what I used to do is I would take them and the mother's helper and go visit the job site every single day. And I decided to start putting this into practice, making this not to-do list, and thinking about what I can automate, eliminate, and delegate. And I found that I actually didn't need to go to the job site every day. I put systems in place to be able to monitor my projects. And this is one of the things we teach in our program too, is how can you monitor the projects while being out of state or never being at the job site. I put systems in place for that. And I saved myself 10 hours per week, maybe more, by going to these job sites, right? And so making that not to-do list and really focusing on what can you automate, eliminate and delegate really helps find that time, carve out that time that you need to build wealth. And think about how long it took you to get that college degree, burn that midnight oil for your employer. Maybe you were an intern first, and then you started climbing the ladder, and then you spent all those hours working for an employer. How many years did it take you? Can you drop in the chat? How many years have you spent working on the career that you are in today? How many years have you spent doing that? Yeah, someone says hashtag true self-care. Yes. How many years have you spent working on your college degree, burning that midnight oil for your employer? 18 years. Yes, 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years, 18 years. Right? I spent 17 years climbing the corporate ladder before I quit my job and started building a real estate portfolio. You're going to need to spend at least a fraction, too many years. Yes, too many years. You're going to have to spend at least a fraction of that time if you want to build wealth. This is a new skill you're trying to learn. It just doesn't appear out of nowhere. You're going to have to spend some time. Think about all of the years you spent building that background so you could get the job you wanted, climb that ladder. And then when it comes to real estate investing, somehow we think that it's just gonna, sorry, 1 second. Somehow we think that it's just gonna figure itself out and we're not going to have to be inconvenienced. We're not going to have to spend any time learning it. It takes years to master real estate investing. It takes a fraction of the time that it takes to build a corporate career, and you're still working for somebody else at the end of the day. Attaining financial freedom through real estate investing doesn't take that long, but it does take some time, right? So back to the original conversation, which is if you want to create that time, right, you are going to have to carve that out and understand that you're going to have to let go of other things to be able to invest in real estate, to be able to get to financial freedom. It's not going to just, the time is not going to just appear out of nowhere. And you're not going to just flip a switch and it's going to work itself out. It takes a lot of diligent work and learning. Fraction of what you needed for your career. I can tell you that. I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering. I was able to replicate my income in real estate with real estate investing in a fraction of the time that I needed to build my previous career. But it does take some time. All right. The second one is what I had to do. Reduce your working hours. And this is so counterintuitive. Basically, keep preaching. Love your mindset. Thank you, Flipster. Basically, what I had to do to be able to get out of this productivity mindset and get out of this idea that I had to check things off of the to-do list, what I had to do is reduce my work hours. Completely counterintuitive. And instead of 8 hours a day, I started working 5 hours a day. Then I started working 3 hours a day. And now we can run our entire real estate investing business that includes everything from acquisition, construction. We have about 20 units right now under construction, under renovation, acquisition, construction, property management. We used to have property management in-house, financing, all of that. We can do that in less than an hour a day. How? Because I forced myself to reduce work hours slowly. And I figured out that a lot of the things that I was doing actually could be either automated, eliminated, or delegated. And then on top of that, I started theming my days. So this is a trick I learned from Jack Dorsey. He's the CEO of Twitter. I read about how he themes his days. So basically, he takes each day of the week and assigns what that day is for. So I started doing the same thing. For example, one day of the week is to spend on acquisitions. Another day is to spend on team building. So we have all our team meetings on Monday. All our entire team knows, we have a team of over 30 people now. All the team members know that Mondays are for team meetings, and we set everybody up for the week, right? Fridays are for making connections. That's why I'm here today. So think about how you can theme your days, and what that does, what that did for me is combining reducing work hours and theming my days together. What that allowed me is, okay, today's the day to do X, and I only have X amount of hours to do it. What am I going to do? You're automatically going to prioritize. Does that make sense? Are you guys with me? Can you drop a yes or a thumbs up so I know you're with me? And again, if you're watching a replay, drop hashtag replay so I know you're here. So combining those two things allowed me to really prioritize. And thank you, Renee. To really prioritize and start putting things under the 3 buckets of automate, eliminate, and delegate. Ali says, thumbs up. Scott says, totally. Flipster says, over 30 people team. Yes, that is the power of delegating, right? Couldn't do everything I wanted to do if I tried to do it all myself. So combine those two things, and then you can prioritize growth over productivity. So again, my 3-pronged approach to self-care is, number 1, focus on financial freedom. That is top priority because everything else follows, right? When you have financial freedom, you have money, you have time, you have location freedom. All of the stresses that I had before are gone now. Focus on financial freedom. Self-care approach, number 1. Second one is focus on growth instead of productivity. Always put growth on top of productivity. And we talked about how we did that by making a not to-do list, automating, eliminating, and delegating things, putting eliminating on top of those 3, and combining theming your days with reducing work hours. And that automatically helps you prioritize. So if you're like me and you want to get everything done, anybody here who likes to get everything done, you think you're going to put everything on the list and you will overestimate how much you can get done in a day. Anybody else does that? If you're like me, if you're guilty of that, this approach works really well to get out of that addiction. Yes? Yes, thank you. Okay. And then the third one in this 3-pronged approach of self-care is health. And this is something I didn't know how to do early on. I really couldn't figure out how to put health on the list. And when I say health, I don't mean those expensive spa days and bath bombs and all of that stuff. Bath bombs, I mean, who the heck makes bath bombs? Anyway, I've actually used them. They're pretty cool. So no offense to anyone. But you know, that is not health. That is not focusing on self-care and health. It is getting that workout in, getting that, and a lot of times I don't have the time to get a workout in, but I always Kia is laughing at me. Yes, but I always make sure I spend at least 1 hour being active with my kids. because to me, my kids are on top of all the lists. They're on top of everything. It doesn't matter. None of the lists matter. None of this matters. My kids come on top of everything. It's just naturally how I am. But so what I do is I combine working out and being active with being with my kids. And it's really fun, and it teaches them a really valuable lesson of being active on a daily basis. Getting sleep, getting enough sleep, right? So excellent exercise. Yes, getting enough sleep is so important. This was one of the things 2 years ago when I hired a health coach. There was number one thing she said: sleep is queen. Make sure you get your sleep. Prioritize sleep over everything else. So again, comparing that to the idea of self-care that's out there is, all these luxurious bed sheets and bathrobes, and I don't know, all this indulgent idea of self-care. Throw that out of the window. True self-care is how many hours of sleep are you getting? So the third one is health: sleep, exercise, eating well. So those are my 3 pillars of self-care that I live and breathe by. Focus on financial freedom, focus on growth as opposed to productivity, and health. And as long as you prioritize those 3 on top of everything else, and anytime you have to make a decision on whether you should be doing something or not, figure out whether they fit either of the 3 buckets. And if they don't, they have to get checked off of your list. Does that make sense? Let me know if you're with me. And if you're on Facebook, the comments are a little bit delayed. So if you post a comment, I won't be able to see it for a minute. So that's it. That's my rant for today on, putting wealth building on top of your self-care activities. Any questions? Do you guys have any questions? And by the way, we have, if you don't know this already, we have a coaching program called the Portfolio Program. We teach you, if you're a busy professional, if you're a busy person, we teach you how to build your real estate portfolio with the goal of getting your first BRRRR property under contract by the end of 90 days. It's a 90-day program. And we work from the premise of really doing it in as little time as possible in a way that's hands-off, without any partners, without spending the time hustling. And what we require is that you have at least $25,000 of liquid money. It could actually be in your 401k or HELOC, as long as you can pull it whenever you find a property. You can pull it to be able to use it as seed money. However, this strategy becomes zero down investing because we teach you how to turn that money into equity in the property that you buy, and then pull that money out at the end, and then move it to the next property, called velocity of money. It's called velocity of money because you move that money fast and you create assets on your way. Build assets, build equity, and build cash flow, and that can lead you to financial freedom. So Portfolio Program is a 3-month program. And so if you're watching this, if you're interested in the Portfolio Program, I know we talked about self-care and wealth building, but if real estate is something that you're interested in, if the BRRRR strategy is something that you're interested in, you can just DM us on Instagram or Facebook, and somebody will help you out from our team. Any questions I can answer before I take off? It was really nice spending this time with you guys. Any takeaways, please drop them in the chat, in the comments, so I know you were here and what your biggest takeaway was, what resonated with you the most. How do you find priorities in the program? I'm not sure I understand the question, or maybe I do. The program is very focused on one goal. We're very focused individuals. We teach our people how to get their focus in the right way. And so there is one single focus in the program is getting your first property under contract. We remove all the noise. There's a lot of noise in real estate. Almost everybody who has ever bought a single property in real estate is out there giving advice. So we focus on cutting out all the noise, and we help you focus on getting your first deal done. How do you find properties in the program? I understand your question better now. So we teach you how to build a deal pipeline in the program with properties on the market and off-market properties. So we teach you how to build solid deal pipeline in the program. I hope that helps. All right, guys. So I'm gonna take off, and what Niti and I are doing is we're going live in our private Facebook group. If you haven't joined it already, if you're on Instagram and watching this, it's called Real Estate Investing for Busy Professionals. We are going to try and go live every Friday around 11:30 a.m. Eastern or noon, every Friday or every other Friday. So if you're part of the group, we have an event section in there. You can check in the event section for any upcoming events that we have, any lives that we have. And so if you're part of the group, make sure you check that section out. If you're part of the group and if you haven't already, also check out the guide section. There is tons of valuable content in there. If you want to get help defining your real estate investing strategy, there is an entire series that we did on that. If you need help with figuring out what your next step should be, we did a live on gap analysis. We also help you build out your next year with key performance indicators for your journey. So all of that is already available. It's free. It's in a group called Real Estate Investing for Busy Professionals. So check out the guide section in that group. All right, so I will see you guys next time. Please invite other people to join the group if you haven't already. Again, it's called Real Estate Investing for Busy Professionals. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.